All right, let's talk about CERN. You've probably heard of it. It's home to the Large Hadron Collider, one of the most mind-blowing scientific instruments humans have ever built. But if you spend any time online, you know it's famous for something else entirely, a whole universe of wild stories about opening portals to other dimensions, messing with our timeline, and even demonic rituals.
I mean, this is the big one, right? This is the question that fuels everything. So, for a little while, let's just set aside the actual particle physics. We're going to dive into one of the internet's most epic legends, this idea that CERN is doing a lot more than just smashing atoms, that it's actually messing with the fabric of reality itself. And you see stuff like this everywhere. Go on any forum, any social media platform, look up CERN, and this is what you'll find. This isn't just some fringe comment. It taps into this really widespread feeling that whatever's happening deep underground, it's not just science. It might be something else.
And then you have this, which is really a cornerstone of the whole mythology. The claim is that CERN is so incredibly powerful that it's literally rewriting history, or at least our memories of it. This is the theory that connects all that super high-tech science with that weird personal feeling we sometimes get that something from our own past has changed. And finally, you get to this idea. The belief that behind all the lab coats and complex equations, there's a dark, ritualistic side to the whole organization. This isn't about accidents. It's about a belief that there's a real intent to do something sinister. So where in the world do these incredibly powerful ideas even come from?
Well, to understand this, you kind of have to go down the rabbit hole. You have to look past the headlines and into the personal stories people are sharing. Because for a lot of people, these theories aren't just crazy ideas. They're explanations for a world that just feels off.
You hear the date come up a lot, 2012. Why? Well, that's the year the Higgs boson particle, the God particle, was discovered at CERN. And online, you'll find so many people who say that ever since then, it feels like reality forked, like we're all living in a slightly different timeline, one that's just a little bit wrong. And that feeling, it led to this huge explosion and talk about the Mandela Effect. You know that phenomenon where tons of people have the exact same false memory? Was it always the Berenstein Bears with an A? I swear I remember a cornucopia in the Fruit of the Loom logo. To believers, these aren't just little memory glitches. They are proof that the timeline has been changed. So on forums like Reddit, people have pieced together these really detailed, kind of scientific-sounding explanations for how it all works. The basic idea goes something like this. The Large Hadron Collider smashes a particle, and in doing so, it deletes its information from the universe. And because of quantum entanglement, this causes reality itself to sort of snap over to the next closest possible version. Now, it uses words from quantum physics, but that's not really how any of this actually works. Okay, so we have these really compelling, intricate stories. But what happens when we take them and hold them up against the actual documented facts? Let's peel back those layers of myth and see what's really in the official records. Let's start with the logo. The myth, as you've probably heard, is that it's a hidden 666. But the reality? Well, it's a lot less exciting. According to CERN itself, the design was chosen way back in 1968, and it's just meant to be a simple drawing of particle accelerators. That's it. And this just sums up the contrast perfectly, doesn't it? While the internet is debating demonic portals, the actual real-life documents from CERN are filled with stuff like this, boring old contract law. It's a little less about opening gateways and a lot more about procurement. Then there's the famous statue of the Hindu god Shiva. People see Shiva, the destroyer, and they think, aha, proof. But the statue is actually a gift from India, and its symbolism is way deeper than that. It represents the cosmic dance of both creation and destruction, which is actually a pretty perfect metaphor for what they study at CERN, where matter and energy are constantly changing. And what about that totally shocking ritual video? The one that went viral, looked like a human sacrifice was happening right there on campus? Well, if you dig up CERN's own HR report from 2016, you find the real story. It was a prank pulled by some visiting students. They weren't punished for summoning demons, they got official reprimands for making the organization look bad. So here's the big question. If a lot of this evidence can be debunked pretty easily, why don't these theories just go away? Why do they seem to get even more popular? Well, the answer seems to have less to do with physics and a whole lot more to do with psychology. Researchers who look into this stuff actually have a name for this whole category of ideas. They call them epistemologically suspect beliefs, or ESBs. It's just a neutral academic term for any belief that isn't really backed up by mainstream evidence, whether it's conspiracy theories, paranormal stuff, or pseudoscience. So, does believing that CERN is making black holes make you more likely to believe in, I don't know, a flat Earth or UFO cover-ups? It's a great question, and the research points to a pretty clear yes. So what you're looking at here is basically a map of how these beliefs connect. The dark green squares show a strong link. And what this tells us is that it's not really about the specifics of CERN. It's more about a general mindset, a receptiveness to stories that go against the official narrative. If you believe in one, you are statistically way more likely to believe in others. Researchers call this a positive manifold. It just means that for some of us, it's not about looking at each claim individually. Instead, it's more of a general outlook, a mindset that's just more open to accepting ideas that exist outside of what everybody else is saying, no matter what the topic is. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Because this is really about so much more than just CERN. It's about this constant battle going on between the incredible complexity of the real world and our brain's natural, deep-seated love of a simple, compelling story. Think about the Mandela Effect again. It's probably less about shifting timelines and more about the fascinating and frankly weird way our own minds work. Your memory isn't a video camera. It's more like a storyteller. Every time you remember something, your brain rebuilds the memory, and it fills in any gaps with details that it thinks should be there. And when lots of people's brains all fill in the same gap in the same logical way, like putting a monocle on a rich cartoon guy, poof, a shared false memory is born. You know, this comment from someone on Reddit who said they were a CERN scientist, it just hits the nail on the head. The actual reality of studying beam, halos, and diffusive models is, well, kind of boring. And it just can't compete with an epic story about opening a portal to hell. A good story, it seems, is always more powerful than a complicated, boring truth. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought. This whole CERN thing isn't just about physics or conspiracies. It's a perfect story for our time. It really forces us all to ask ourselves, when we're faced with a world that is just overwhelmingly complex, and a story that's simple, dramatic, and just feels right, which one is our brain naturally wired to choose?